A couple of volunteers made it to Somalia as a part of an aid organization to help the kids, to learn about the dangers of antipersonal mines, which at the time was frequent. But they made a mistake. As foreign to the land, they stepped into enemy territory. Who were they? Where did they take them? And what did they do? How were they rescued? Watch ahead to know. With clenched fists, the Navy SEALs listened intently to the desperate pleas for her life from Jessica Buchanan, an American teacher who had been kidnapped by pirates while participating in a demining project in Somalia. Stranded in the desert, she lay sick and starving, vulnerable to the whims of her heavily armed captors. Determined to save her, the renowned SEAL Team 6 operators faced a series of daunting challenges. Gale force winds threatened to disrupt their airborne jump, requiring them to leap from the aircraft at speeds twice as fast as usual. Additionally, a solar storm loomed, potentially severing radio communications for hours. Despite these obstacles, the SEALs knew time was of the essence for Jessica, and they were resolved to complete one of the most audacious hostage rescues ever undertaken. Jessica Buchanan, 32 years old, had been residing with her husband in a relatively safer region of Somalia. Jessica Buchanan, along with her Danish colleague Paul Thisted, dedicated their efforts to a large aid organization in Somalia, educating children about the dangers of anti-personnel mines that plagued the country. Their work required them to navigate perilously close to the so-called Green Line, the invisible boundary separating areas controlled by Islamist groups. Despite the already tense security situation in the Horn of Africa with frequent bomb attacks and tribal conflicts, Jessica remained committed to her mission, refusing to hide behind walls. On October 25, 2011, the day they were scheduled to return, their journey took an unexpected turn. Jessica noticed an unfamiliar driver sitting in the Land Cruiser that was meant to transport them to the airport, replacing their usual chauffeur. Although she felt a sense of unease, her Danish colleague seemed unperturbed and quickly took the passenger seat. Reluctantly, Jessica dismissed her concerns and joined them in the vehicle. Only 10 minutes into their drive, the worst fears materialized. A powerful car appeared suddenly, forcefully bringing their convoy to a sudden halt. As Jessica Buchanan and Paul Thisted found themselves in the clutches of their captors, the dire reality of their situation unfolded with terrifying swiftness. Around 30 armed men with AK-47 assault rifles descended upon their convoy, banging on the Land Cruiser's windows and barking commands in an unfamiliar language. Jessica's world was upended in an instant as one of the pirates pressed his gun against her head while her security advisor was forcibly pulled from the vehicle. The entire operation seemed meticulously planned despite the evident influence of the pirates' consumption of khat, a plant common in Africa known for its amphetamine-like effects. Eventually, the captors brought Jessica and Paul to a desolate location in the middle of nowhere. The relief workers, resigned to their grim fate, were made to prepare for their own execution, only to be reprieved at the last moment. The pirates had little regard for the lives of the hostages, but they recognized that keeping them unharmed was crucial to extracting the highest possible ransom. It seemed they took perverse pleasure in taunting the perceived powerlessness of the Western world thousands of miles away. Trapped in a living nightmare, Jessica and Paul found themselves utterly powerless, at the mercy of their captors. They were left to wonder whether anyone had even noticed their disappearance, their plight hidden from the world. While Jessica Buchanan and Paul Thisted endured the harrowing ordeal of their captivity, the wheels of response were already in motion behind the scenes. Washington had swiftly become aware of the abduction, triggering immediate countermeasures. Jessica's aid organization promptly notified the American embassy in Nairobi, which in turn relayed the information to the FBI. From there, a series of phone calls were made to Jessica's family members, aimed at providing reassurance and discouraging any rash actions. Within hours, high-ranking officials briefed U.S. President Barack Obama, who regarded Jessica Buchanan's plight as a top priority at the White House. The gravity of the situation was evident, and preparations were underway to secure her safe release. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Jessica remained captive, enduring approximately 90 days of fear. Despite ongoing negotiations, no agreement could be reached for a ransom. The pirates, even after being offered a substantial sum of $1.5 million, refused to cooperate. This sum was more than enough to secure financial stability for each of them for at least 3 decades. Throughout her captivity, Jessica grappled with the constant hardships of hunger, searing heat, and the ever-present fear of potential harm from her captors. Each day was a grueling test of resilience and survival. In addition to the already dire circumstances, Jessica Buchanan faced the added challenge of a spreading urinary tract infection, which had the potential to be life-threatening. In a final video message to Western authorities, she and Paul fervently pleaded for their lives and a prompt payment of the ransom, highlighting the urgency of the situation. Jessica feared that without intervention, she would either succumb to her infection or fall victim to the unpredictable actions of the pirates, who were influenced by the effects of khat. Unbeknownst to Jessica, her prayers were answered thousands of miles away when 24 cell phones suddenly rang in the hands of men with long beards, tattoos, and an aura of unwavering calm, self-confidence, and professionalism. They were members of the renowned SEAL Team 6, who had just received an alert for a devgru hostage rescue mission. Over the following weeks, the highly skilled warriors of SEAL Team 6's Blue Squadron dedicated themselves to relentless training day and night, driven by the haunting sound of Jessica's pleading voice from the video message. They were motivated by a deep commitment to safeguarding the lives of women and children, exhibiting their unwavering resolve to rescue Jessica and bring her home safely. On January 25, 2012, the highly anticipated moment had arrived. With President Obama's approval, 24 of the finest warriors the US had to offer were prepared to risk their lives in a daring hostage rescue mission to secure the safe release of both hostages. Their strategy involved parachuting into Somalia and proceeding on foot to the pirate camp, employing stealth to avoid alerting the enemy. At the US operations base in Djibouti, situated approximately 500 miles from Jessica's location, a comprehensive collection of military resources was assembled. The operation's total cost had already exceeded $100 million, a testament to America's commitment to saving a single citizen. With all preparations finalized, the SEALs boarded their C-130 transport aircraft and departed from Mogadishu. Remarkably, the pilots had only just arrived after a 9-hour flight, yet they flawlessly executed their duties. The eyes of the world, including the president monitoring the operation via live feed, were fixed on the unfolding hostage rescue. Unbeknownst to the SEALs, the kidnappers had intended to change their position that very night, but were hindered by food poisoning from consuming spoiled meat, causing them to remain in place. Additionally, a violent solar storm disrupted radio communications, posing a significant challenge. Despite the adverse conditions, including strong winds that would have canceled the regular mission, the rescue of Jessica Buchanan was far from ordinary, and each of the 24 men aboard the aircraft was willing to embrace the extra risk involved. After a 3-hour flight, the SEALs reached their drop point. With a 40-knot wind, they jumped from the C-130, free-falling at incredible speeds of over 120 miles per hour. Despite the challenging wind conditions, they managed to land and regroup. Donning their combat gear, they began their silent march through the scorching Somali night, covering several miles to approach the pirate camp undetected. The next hour would test their nerves and determination. With an earshot of the pirates, they remained concealed in the darkness, inching closer towards their objective. Led by experienced SEAL Justin Sheffield, the team spread out, positioning themselves strategically. Snipers took positions on the flanks, observing their comrades' movements. As they advanced in perfect unity, the enemy sentry grew anxious, awakening the other pirates. Maintaining their steady pace, Sheffield signaled with his laser, and his comrades followed suit. The invisible infrared beams indicated movement in the darkness, prompting the pirates to aim their weapons in the perceived direction. With the divisive clack, the SEALs readied their PKM machine guns and engaged. The firefight erupted, with the pirates unleashing their firepower, met by precise and surgical counterfire from the SEALs. Amidst the chaos, the SEALs fought forward, determined to find Jessica. Unlike a previous failed hostage rescue, these SEALs were with unwavering determination. Sheffield and another SEAL broke away from the formation, ensuring that these pirates would never harm anyone again with their accurate shots. Amidst the ongoing firefight, Sheffield saw Jessica's face and swiftly shielded her with his own body, protecting her from enemy crossfire. More SEALs joined in, forming multiple layers of protection around her. Putting the hostages' lives above their own, these warriors, who themselves had families, risked everything to ensure their safety. Another comrade protected Paul Thisted from enemy fire, as all 9 pirates were neutralized. Sheffield lifted Jessica onto his shoulders and sprinted out of the pirate camp, far away from any danger. The other SEALs formed a human shield, ready to resume the fight if necessary. Sheffield reassured Jessica that as SEAL Team 6, they would kill anyone who tried to harm her. Para-rescue jumpers from the US Air Force attended to Jessica, while the SEALs demolished the pirates' armed depot. They then marched towards the extraction helicopter's landing zone. During the exfiltration, whenever there was a potential threat, Navy SEALs swiftly surrounded Jessica, protecting her with their own bodies. Thankfully, there was no more fighting, and accompanied by the SEALs, Jessica ran independently towards the waiting Black Hawk helicopter that would bring her to freedom. After 3 months of captivity, her life now in the hands of selfless warriors, she felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude as she reflected on her journey. One soldier knelt beside her, handed her a folded American flag, and warmly welcomed her home.